This is my last one. I'm gonna take a couple years off.
It's the competitive thing, and it's also just like, I'm probably one of the few people that really lives this rap life. Like, I really live this rap life for real. I'm really out here partying. You see the house.
Up at the baby
you
show.
see the, yeah. I'm out. I'm in the streets. I'm really out here, and you know,
the lifestyle.
To those guys' credit.
Drake just made fun of Kendrick Lamar in a manner that we haven't seen him do in a long time. Drake has really returned to the studio and released a new song to start off the new year in hip-hop, rather than venting on streaming or complaining on social media.
So you need facts to take me out. Fairy tales won't do it. Cheers to everybody.
Words live by.
Words to live by. Real talk.
Drake is once again attempting to take on Kendrick Lamar head-on with just his bars and a beat from Conductor Williams, rather than attempting to escape from what he did to him and signified by changing genres or languages. This is Drake's second full-on diss track against Kendrick Lamar this year, and it will be released in a few days. The rap game is obviously circling about, looking for a method to unseat the unquestioned king of everything. It appears that Drake is particularly attempting to recover after realizing that every single strategy he tried to use to make a comeback, whether it was putting out more songs, changing genres, or attempting to be a full-fledged streamer, failed horribly. By prodding Kendrick enough to obtain the attention he would not otherwise receive at this stage, Drake is now attempting to return to the rap game. Make sure to like and subscribe before we go into all of the jabs Drake made at Kendrick and the reasons behind his statements right now. Drake's new song, which appears to be named Fighting Irish, is incredibly emotive and fits in with everything he's done since losing to Kendrick Lamar in a way that has never been seen before. Drake is expressing how this feud has wounded his feelings, but at least Drake is expressing his grief and resentment straight into his bars rather than behaving like a complete buffoon. This is at least something of a positive move after miraculously making every single incorrect decision for nearly a whole year. Drake says a lot here and appears to do two major things, but he always presents himself in a way that someone who labels themselves an MC should, for better or worse. He begins by attempting to defend his recent crash out and the reasons behind his current act of being the biggest idiot in music. Second, and maybe more broadly, he's trying to rekindle a musical feud with Kendrick Lamar. Drake is attempting to refute Kendrick's bars from his diss tracks for the first time since Family Matters. Despite how odd it is that he's doing this months later, Drake is in some ways on the offensive here, rather than simply denying everything in the most bizarre way imaginable, like he did on The Heart Part 6. Drake begins the song by acknowledging that he totally missed the iconic hip-hop summer. This is probably his way of indicating that he never lived up to the summer vibes he promised following the beef. Self-awareness of some kind is preferable than none at all. From this point on, Drake returns to his delusions by criticizing Kendrick and looking for methods to undermine and minimize his victory. After portraying himself as the victim of the music business as a whole, he makes an effort to undermine everything with lines like, "The world fell in love with the gimmicks, even my brothers got tickets." Naturally, the first part of this bar seeks to undermine the significance of everything Kendrick did against him in the broader context of hip-hop and the music industry by claiming that it was all a gimmick. I don't have to tell you how pitiful and incorrect that statement is. Drake's use of this approach demonstrates that, rather than moving ahead, he is still attempting to rewrite and modify history in his own irrational way. The second section of the bar, where Drake lists all the people who betrayed him, more especially those he formerly thought of as friends, is what's truly novel in this instance. Names like LeBron James, DeMar DeRozan, and James Harden are among those who appear to have chosen Team Kendrick by going to one of the best performances ever, which naturally occurred just after Drake's pop-out setback. Furthermore, this section is not terrible on its own because Drake is genuinely being somewhat reflective here and considering his feelings in a way that is genuinely human. Naturally though, it was quite awkward when you consider that he has already expressed his feelings about players like LeBron James and DeMar DeRozan betraying him, such as by unfollowing LeBron, and in the instance of DeMar DeRozan, by physically confronting him at the Raptors game. All things considered, when you see how Drake actually handled these situations, it detracts from the event and just serves to highlight how pitiful he is when you compare his actual reaction to the lyrics. Beyond these lines though, the second verse is where the song really picks up and becomes much more aggressive, particularly in terms of Drake clearly signaling to Kendrick Lamar to come back down and insult him once more. Drake uses subtle cues and language that flip terms related to Kendrick Lamar and his side of the hip-hop world in this performance, However, the most significant part of this verse, which will determine whether or not this track has any impact or elicits any reaction, is when he says, "Who's got the most to lose and who's in that other position? See no conversations, boy. I hope they got double encryption. I hate to see the empire crumble on judges' convictions. They pulled a rabbit out the hat, and y'all love a magician." By undermining Kendrick and trying to make him seem like a bigger and more significant character than he ever will be, Drake is addressing a lot of issues as he sets up this moment with the first bar. Once more, this is another one of Drake's performance's shortcomings. I'm not sure why he's using the same tactic again, given one of the main reasons he never had a chance in this feud was his incapacity to view Kendrick as an equal. He undervalued one of the finest and most competitive rappers of all time because of his own poor decision making. But after stating this, regardless of how irrational it may be, Drake issues another warning to Kendrick and his group, stating that he hopes they have been hiding their tracks for the things they have been doing to ostensibly turn the hip-hop world and music industry against him. Once more, this is merely a jab at Drake's hallucinations. This feels like a terrible rerun of The Heart Part 6, where Drake lied to make himself seem tough and act like he knew more than he actually did. Drake continues, "The stakes do become considerably higher from here. I hate to see the empire crumble on judges' conviction." He is addressing his lawsuit on a track for the first time. In this sentence, he mocks Kendrick by stating that he hopes the truth doesn't come out since it will destroy all of Kendrick's accomplishments, while also expressing his optimism that he can win this case to salvage his career. However, no one believes anything Drake is attempting to say about Kendrick and the success of Not Like Us as a whole, given all the evidence that has been offered, and the fact that we all saw this moment and witnessed people being inspired by something that Kendrick did like nothing else in hip-hop has in years. Drake formally responds to some of the most significant jabs Kendrick delivered at him in the song Meet the Grams, which changed everything by adding even more lyrics directed at Kendrick. Drake attempts to clarify that he doesn't have a drinking problem in this instance, but he eventually acknowledges that he does, defending it by claiming it's subtle. As he attempts to deal with everything and determine where he wants to go next, he states, "I got my father's habits and my mother's permission." Adding to the confusion of this entire section and his answer to Kendrick's Meet the Grams, he goes on to say, "My dad got another child. I told him that wasn't my sister." Here, Drake is openly contradicting Kendrick's statements that he is dealing with significant problems. However, based on his approach, I don't believe this is the flex he believes it to be. Particularly in the final bar, he seems to be building on Kendrick's assertions that he has a daughter by stating that his father had another kid. I assume this is an attempt to shift the focus from him to his father. That's the only way this bar makes sense in the context in which it's written anyway. Now, some people may be impressed by this and believe that Drake is back, especially because all of this includes Drake attempting to frighten Kendrick with his litigation and then reacting to Kendrick's disses on Meet the Grams by admitting that everything he said is still somewhat true. This is because he is rhyming intelligibly over a Conductor Williams beat in terms of cadence. All this song is, however, is the same story presented in a different way by Drake when you really try to analyze what he is saying and see the things he is attempting to flip, while once again attempting to label Kendrick Lamar an underdog even after Kendrick has surpassed him in every single category. Despite losing, he continues to use the same tactics and angles in an attempt to make a comeback, demonstrating that he has learned absolutely nothing from this feud. Beyond everything else which makes this song even more startling, we must also ask ourselves, why do all of this now? In the grand scheme of things, Drake has already lost. Diss tracks are no longer being released as a result of the actual back and forth of the beef. Therefore, even though Drake's song may be a bright spot for him during one of the worst career runs we have ever seen from a rapper, both on and off the mic, it is still nothing special for him to release a song in which he is simply venting about a reality that he could have attempted to fix long ago but chose not to. He isn't making any progress. Furthermore, Drake still fell short of Kendrick's expectations if the song's objective was to garner enough attention to re-engage him in conversation without resorting to a full-on back and forth. What does Drake say in this passage that requires Kendrick to return and show himself to him once more? The beef has already been won by Kendrick, of course. The Super Bowl is his. He has the most successful rap record currently available, PL, and a whole stadium tour. This is just another perplexing move from Drake, given that Kendrick is currently in charge of everything, and that Drake is reacting to a few lines from a song that was released more than 6 months ago. It's fascinating to note that as additional rappers return to the scene and target Kendrick, including Joey, Drake, and even J. Cole's 7-minute drill, they all disparaged him using beats by Conductor Williams. Perhaps something is happening in 2025. Given Kendrick Lamar's immense influence, it's possible that more MCs than ever before, from Drake to everyone else, will do everything in their ability to prevent him from becoming the undeniable GOAT? Having said that, share your thoughts on Drake's latest song with me. What, in your opinion, does this do to improve his reputation at this moment, when he is experiencing one of his worst runs ever? I am eager to hear your thoughts on this matter.